I'm going to go ahead and get us kicked right off this morning. Hello, I am Kelly Murray. I'm the Chief Engagement Officer at the Consortium for Service Innovation. Welcome. Thanks for being here. My colleague Sarah Feldman is here with us today, and we are so excited to introduce Janice and Rebecca, who are going to talk with us about their experience at Farm Credit Mid-America. Just a couple notes before we get started. We are, of course, with the consortium. We are a not-for-profit think tank made up of about 70 member companies. Together, we are the caretakers of the KCS methodology, along with some other models focused on reimagining the way we work together, like intelligent swarming. And one of the things that the consortium offers is training and certification for both KCS and intelligent swarming. Next week, for your calendars, we're hosting a special event to showcase how lots of organizations are enhancing onboarding and upskilling and overall team success by embedding consortium designed training into their employee experience. So that'll happen on Thursday, February 27th at 8 a.m. Pacific, which we sometimes call Consortium Standard Time. And Sarah's dropped a link in the chat. While you're on the website over there at serviceinnovation.org, the other thing to register for is the annual summit next month. We'll be together in person in Atlanta, Georgia, March 25th through 27th. We'll be exploring the convergence between knowledge and people and AI. And so I've made it 2 whole minutes before mentioning AI in this particular call. We would love to see you there in Atlanta. If you're planning on attending, maybe drop that in the chat. We can kind of start some of those conversations. Today, I'm very pleased to introduce Janice Smith, who's the Director of Enterprise Services Support, and Rebecca Mark, the Head of Lending Support at Farm Credit Mid-America, which sometimes you'll see as FCMA. We're going to hear about their ongoing success with KCS. We are anticipating time for Q&A at the end. In the meantime, you're so welcome to put questions and comments in the chat. That is actually how we met Janice. She has participated in chat conversations in previous calls just like this. We are recording this event, and you'll receive an email with the recording in the next day or two. And so without further ado, here is Janice and Rebecca. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Kelly. We're excited to be here today. I am Rebecca Mark, and I'm joined today by Janice Smith, and we're going to share a little bit about our story with KCS and our journey thus far. Just to give you a little bit of a background, Farm Credit Mid-America is a financial institution, and we serve rural communities and agriculture in a 6-state radius around us. We're located in Louisville, Kentucky. And we've had a really interesting journey with KCS that we'd love to share with you today. We're going to go through a little bit of our environment, and then some challenges that we started with, and then kind of the evolution that has come about because of KCS, and then happy to answer any questions that you may have about that. If you want to.
Here we go.
Yeah, so our organization is about 1,600 team members, and we meet all of the business operations support needs for our organization. We support end-to-end loan origination, so we provide financing, and we collaborate really closely with our technology team, although our department doesn't specifically sit in our technology team. The technology that we use and have been using for the last almost 5 years is ServiceNow, and that just gives you an idea of our organization. We have a lot of remote locations. We have about 86 offices throughout our 6 states, and gives you hopefully a concept of what it is that we're working with. Our team specifically that handles all of our tier 1 calls, there are 10 of we call them business support analysts, and they triage calls, incoming issues, tickets, usually related to our business operations processes, as well as technical issues. And so with the technology issues that we triage, we're working with our technology desk. We have 5 team members who are part of our tier 2 resource team, and that group makes sure that everything keeps running smoothly throughout every day. We have made sure that all of our team, so including our daily support function, but I lead many of the other support functions within our organization. All of our team, even the ones that don't take daily calls, are all trained in KCS, and we'll talk about why that is this morning as well.
Okay, so I'll share just a little bit about our structure with KCS. So for our knowledge workers, all of our tier 1 and tier 2 absolutely are KCS trained. But as Rebecca mentioned, we do have some other team members that are not directly engaged in daily support that are KCS trained, because we apply some of those KCS principles to other types of documentation that we manage. We found that it works very well. Since the beginning of our journey with KCS, we've had knowledge coaches. So we have 3 coaches that are in tier 1 support. They perform the content standard checklist reviews and provide feedback to our team members. And we're going to start rotating the coaches so that more people have the opportunity to get engaged in coaching. And we also have every other week a knowledge coaches meeting. So we talk about what are we seeing, what opportunities do we have, are there things that we need to refresh. So our coaches are a very important part of our program. As far as the knowledge bases that we manage for our knowledge articles related to daily support, we have one that's internal for our team. We've got probably about 1,800 articles within that knowledge base. And then we also have one that's published for self-service, for our self-service portal for our internal customers. And we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 325-ish articles that are published in that particular knowledge base. We do leverage the KCS role permissions within ServiceNow. We had been working solely in ITSM up until December, and mid-December. We've switched over to the FSO module, and so we're in case management now. But our knowledge is maintained and connected the same way that it has been, even with the switch from ITSM to FSO. And our roles are, the permissions are granted based on demonstrated performance. It's not just like time and job, but we really want to make sure as we move people from one role to the next within the KCS framework that they have the skills and demonstrated skills to be able to do the things that we would expect in those particular roles. So just thinking about where we started from, why did we even start with KCS? So when we started, our team was relatively small, and we had subject matter experts from the business that came to be part of our team. They were very highly regarded. They knew their stuff and their area of expertise. And that was fantastic. But guess what? They were answering lots of business process questions that may have been outside their area of expertise. So they were trying to scramble and find resources, and they wanted to get it right. And it was just an incredibly stressful time for them because they wanted to be able to serve their team members in the same way they had always been able to serve them within their realm of expertise. So the other thing that was a little bit of a challenge is there was a risk of burnout. And then also just other people, if we were trying to recruit other people to come to the team, they're just like, I don't know about that. You have to know all these things. And then when you think about it from our customer perspective, our SLA for ticket responses is 24 hours. And there were times that we were really challenged in meeting that. And if you can imagine, if we're trying to get the answers for our customers and we're getting things from maybe different resources, there was some challenge with a lack of consistency. And we would hear feedback. It's just like, I don't know what's right. And so it was really difficult to build trust with our internal customers because we didn't really have a great structure of content at the time. So that led to KCS.
Yeah. So early on, I'll be honest, I didn't know anything about KCS and was really just faced with the challenges of a team that was burned out, difficult to recruit, new team members, having to manage a host of information across all the systems and all the business processes we have. And it was just a really kind of an insurmountable feat to get started. And so I had the opportunity to work really closely with some technology leaders, and they were like, there's this thing, it's a knowledge-centered service. Based on what you're telling us, this may be something that you want to look into. And so we did, and have found out that that has really been the just critical to our success as far as how we've been able to continue to support the business over the last several years. I would say that one of the most, I'm sure like your environment, one of the most things that we face all the time is change. Everything is changing constantly. And so what we found is that we needed a way to keep up with those changes to maintain our accuracy and our reliability, because again, trust is the foundation really of all the relationships we have with our internal customers. And so what KCS has afforded us is really an opportunity for us to build that trust. And we have a methodology that allows us to keep our information, our content fresh, resources available to our team members, and really has been a game changer. For me, from a vision perspective, it's really been about sustainability. We started, and I know we have a small team, and so for some of you, you probably lead hundreds of people. Our team, in your minds, probably is extremely small now. We started with a team of 4. We have a team of 10 now. But it really has been about how do we grow and maintain sustainability. We have had this team in place for about 5 years, and our team hasn't grown, despite the fact that our organization has grown by almost 35%, and our team member population has grown by about 30%. And so sustainability has really been essential to for us to be able to figure out how do we manage all of the demands that we have with KCS. So when we got started, our first thought was, let's educate everyone. So the first thing that we did is equip everyone with education, learning. We focused a lot of our attention around learning about KCS and how we wanted to do that. We invested in training. We committed to solutions. So originally we weren't using ServiceNow. We committed to pursuing solutions that would equip us to effectively do the actions related to KCS. And so eventually we were able to move into ServiceNow. But I would say that, the tool isn't necessary it does enhance your experience with KCS. And over time, what we have found is that our team members, while with anything new, again, change, it could be challenging at first to get them started. What we found is that today they have a very different perspective. And so from a leadership perspective, what I would recommend is that you have to commit to the vision, commit to the strategy that you have for your team. And that the initial change with anything, it doesn't matter what you do, it's going to be a little bit hard, but holding your team accountable to and continuing to practice KCS is definitely worth it. And we're going to talk a little bit about how we have seen our journey with KCS evolve and really change how our whole team is represented throughout our organization.
So I'll share a little bit about our customer experience journey. So I don't necessarily think you'll be able to read all the numbers, but this is really highlighting kind of a trend. So if you look at the orange line, that represents ticket trends since 2019. And you'll notice, I don't know, for some reason in 2020, we seem to have a lot of calls. There must have been something going on that year that created calls. But as you'll see, we had a decline. We've had a decline in our number of tickets since 2020. And what you'll also see is we've had a significant increase in knowledge views over time. And, there's a correlation there. We're putting more content out there to be accessible for our team members. And that's fine. And we're okay with not taking as many calls because guess what? That allows us to be engaged in so many more value added things. The thing that it's really helped us to do is from our analyst perspective, we can get them engaged in projects that the outcome of that project is going to be a change to a system or a process that they're going to have to support. If we can get them engaged early on, guess what they can do? They can be engaged with the project and understand what the changes are going to be. They can roll up their sleeves right next to somebody that's an end user that's going to be in user acceptance testing. They can hear the questions that are being asked, and they're going to know that, hey, if these folks are asking that question when this rolls out, other people are going to ask the question, so we can leverage the priming the knowledge base with new information to be able to support that because we know those are actual end user questions that are going to be asked. So it's been really exciting to see the value that KCS has provided just in multiple ways. And our team members in the field that call us with questions see us really as a trusted partner in their journey of taking care of our external customers. And then we'll talk about our customer experience. If you recall early on, I mentioned that we have a 24-hour SLA and that we were challenged in meeting that because there was just so much stuff that we had to know and so many places that we were trying to find it. So today, here's what we look like. Our average resolution time on our tickets is 3 hours and 25 minutes, and that's measured over the past 6 months. So that's the past 6-month average. So, and that's going to include things that may take multiple days if we need to get our technology partners involved in resolving something. And then we do a survey on our ticketing. And so over the past 6 months, the average has been 4.85 out of 5 possible. We consistently get feedback from our customers that they're just thrilled with the turn time. One of our team motto is we help people get unstuck. And they love how we get them unstuck so they can take care of their customers. So it's been just a totally changed experience. And if we think about it from our team's perspective, they have so much more confidence now because they know that they're providing vetted solutions and they collaborate and they find new solutions as new things bubble up. And so it's just been a wonderful, wonderful experience from that perspective. So if we think about today and how we're making things happen for our customers, we have that continued investment in training. So every time somebody comes on board, that's one of the first things on their development plan is to get the KCS training because we know how important that is. We also, from a training perspective, is every so often with our Tier 1 and Tier 2 support teams, we'll do a refresh of different KCS principles, and we'll focus on different areas just to keep things fresh. And then, we've been able to grow our team and we've had a lot of excitement. As a matter of fact, before we were having difficulty recruiting people to come to our team. Now, every time we post a position, it's not because somebody's stressed out and wants to leave. It's because they've got another opportunity within the company to do something new and exciting. And so we get tons of applications from our internal team members wanting to join our team because they just think it's so cool what we're doing. And so we also have technology that supports KCS. It enhances that process and, smooths out the kinks and makes it as efficient as possible. And I would just love to tell you about onboarding. So at the very beginning, when we would hire team members, literally it would take 3 months before they could really get comfortable enough to start taking phone calls. The last team member that was onboarded was able to start taking phone calls within 2 weeks. That was just amazing. And they were just so excited. And the team is excited because they know that, we've got all these resources that they've helped build that's going to help the next one coming in. From an organizational perspective, there's established structure and accountability around the process. So if somebody reaches out and asks a question about something that we've got an article on, it's kind of the buck stops here. we're responsible for making sure that that content is accurate. And we want to make sure that they have the best and most up-to-date content possible. We do have a knowledge council. We do meet every other week. We talk about concerns. We talk about, as a matter of fact, organizationally, people have loved the way this content is structured so much that they want to get in on the game. And it's like, you got to pay to play. So you got to have KCS, you got to have a content management strategy because it's too important. You know, we've got to make sure that this is trusted information. And then another thing that's super, super cool to us is there's executive buy-in. And our chief operating officer has said knowledge is an organizational asset. It's like, it makes my heart happy to hear that. Because it truly is. And so it's been just an exciting journey so far. And then I'd also like to share some direct quotes from a couple of team members. The first one is from a team member that was with our team before we really started KCS. And she recognizes the value in what we're able to do and how it helps us serve our customers. And then the second one is from the perspective of that newest analyst that joined our team. And she has just raved about knowledge and just, she loves it. She loves how it helps us help others and how our team collaborates to make sure that we can keep that information up to date. It's collective ownership, and they just do a fantastic job working together to help our customers. So if you can't tell, we're pretty hooked on KCS. We have had a fantastic experience with it, and we just love what we've been able to do from a team perspective and just serving our customers.
I'm curious if anybody has any questions. I'm happy to share more about or dig into anything that you might have a question about.
Jen Crippen says, we love that verbatim feedback. It's very powerful.
Yeah.
Yes.
I will share just a couple of just lessons learned along our journey, because we haven't always done everything perfectly. So a couple of things, and I know Janice can talk about this too. If you're starting a new KCS program, you may have existing knowledge. We fell into a trap of thinking we really had to bring over that old knowledge. I would strongly encourage you to consider whether or not you actually need to do that. We found it to be kind of detrimental to us really getting off the ground. And the other thing too is, with this being a change, we had to really think about the goals that we set for our team. So we had to really reframe the goals that we had for our team. So that's something else that you might want to think about. Really driving we wanted our goals to drive the behaviors that allowed us to execute KCS. And so our goals are behavioral based, that encourage the behaviors that would be necessary to be successful with KCS, rather than, so we don't have goals related necessarily to turn time, but we do have goals related to how often are we linking knowledge? Not necessarily that you have to have a certain number linked, but that are you practicing the things that we would expect to see from a KCS perspective?
Yeah, that's a lot of great questions here. So some of the topics that we cover in the KCS principal refresh sessions, when we have a new analyst, particularly when we have a new analyst that's joined the team, we'll kind of take time and step through each component of the solve loop and talk about the importance of that particular piece of the solve loop. We also think about within ServiceNow, and the thing that I love about our team is if there's a more efficient way to do something within the system, and we've got a great partnership with our technology team, let's look for efficiencies that we can gain in that process. And I'm open to, and I've told them, I said, I'm open to anything as long as it doesn't violate a KCS principle. So that's kind of the stopping point there. But we do talk about, just various components of the solve loop. We'll get into the evolve loop a little bit with them as well. Reporting, yes, we use ServiceNow reporting, and we also have a fantastic, first of all, our team loves to dig in and figure out reporting. So we've got folks that are just really proficient and they'll dive in and create reports. But we also have on our technology partner side, somebody that helps us with reporting. The reporting's changed in ServiceNow a little bit, so we're learning that. We are in the process as well. We've got pieces of our process adherence review. And now that we've gotten settled into the FSO module, we want to more fully build that out. But we are doing components of that already. It would be fantastic if ServiceNow would build that into the system, but that's okay. We can work with what we have.
There was a question about the Knowledge Council, I think. And we meet every other week. And so we've got leaders and team members from technology, and then leaders and team members from my team. And that's who meets collectively. We've had groups ask us about how we're using knowledge. We're working with other groups in the organization with regard to just content in general. But so far, we've kept our Knowledge Council fairly small and have been really protective of making sure that whatever knowledge we have is maintained from a KCS standpoint. We just want to make sure that the content we have is something that people can rely on. And if you're not maintaining it, then it can get unruly very quickly.
Yeah, I see something about what we tried initially that just did not work, and how did we iterate upon that for better results. One thing, and Rebecca alluded to it, is that initially there was a target for link rate. And that was probably not the best way to approach that, because you know what happens. You set that target, and sometimes you get things that link that aren't really relevant. So we rethought that, and we look generally at our link rate, but not a specific standard for people to hit. Another thing that we did in our process that really kind of created a bottleneck, and we rethought that, was if you think about the role progression from candidate to contributor and so forth, we had a dashboard and we still do, for our KCS coaches, where somebody would write an article, but unless it was a coach, they couldn't just directly publish it even to our internal knowledge base. So that created a bottleneck of reviewed articles that the coaches would have to just pretty much approve and push through the process. Well, it's like, if you're in the contributor phase, if you've demonstrated those skills, there shouldn't be a reason really for that to have to go through the review of a coach. So we eliminated that bottleneck, and we recognize that if we are doing constant content standard checklist reviews and spot checking articles, then we're providing the feedback that's necessary. So those were a couple of things that we just found that, we were shooting ourselves in the foot a little bit. And sometimes you kind of don't know what you don't know, and then you experience, and it's like, yeah, in retrospect, we probably shouldn't have done it that way, but then that's our opportunity to change.
That learning trick is such an interesting, right? We talk about the ditches and trying to help people avoid the ditches, but sometimes you just really have to run right into the ditch because you're like, I think I could probably do it differently, right? And then that's how you learn, and then you back yourself out and figure it out. While you're sort of on that topic, there was a question Jill was asking about what you do for coaching. Will you talk to us a little bit about sort of how coaches are selected and trained, and then what their kind of rhythm of activities are?
Okay. So for our knowledge coaches, the 3 knowledge coaches that we have are extremely experienced, well respected within the team, and they just kind of naturally rose to the top when we first started this activity. And they have just such a wonderful relationship with the rest of the team in terms of being able to share information. So we have the every other week knowledge coaches sessions where we spend an hour, we talk, and it's not only the knowledge coaches, but we also have our tier 2 business resource managers in attendance. So we talk about like common themes that we're seeing, and we think about, how we can share information with the team that will help the team. There's sometimes that we'll even pull up a knowledge article and just say, okay, let's just run through this together. Let's pretend we're doing a content standard checklist, or let's think about this. One of the biggest things with the team, whether it's the coaches or the team, is you write a knowledge article and you know all this stuff up here, and you write the thing and you got the context here, but you didn't get all the context there, and somebody reads it just fresh, and it's like, and I'm a great test for that because there's one of our systems that I don't know very well. And if I look at that article and I'm not quite sure what I need to do, I'm going to ask the question, okay, how can we provide a little bit more context here? So we're really good, and the team is fantastic about that as far as providing feedback. It's like nobody gets their feelings hurt. I can write an article and put it out there and have people critique it. And it's like, it's all good. We're just here to help one another.
And I would say that from a feedback perspective, that took a little time for the team to get accustomed to, because obviously, everybody wants, and we have a team of perfectionists. Everybody wants to do their job the best way they can. And so it took us a little while to get in the rhythms of, okay, how do I accept this feedback? How do I make adjustments? How do I create a space where I'm vulnerable enough with my teammates that I ask for their feedback? So giving them time to get into those roles so that they're, exhibiting the behaviors that you want to see is going to take a little while. For us, we've had to just rethink, we have metrics, but we're not metric driven. And so it's really behavior driven, and it takes a little time to get there. It may be a little bit different than what you did before. For sure, it was different than what we had experienced before.
Yes. Also to the point of equipping our coaches, there's times that I'll look on the consortium site and I'll say, okay, what do we have out there? What can we share with the coaches? And there was, I know there was a session about coaching. And so I set our coaches meeting at a time that we could just all join the call and listen. And I kind of set the stage, recognize that this is being presented by a company that's probably structured slightly differently than us. And there's some differences. Let's see what we can glean from this that could be helpful. So it sparked some really good discussion. So we just operate in a very collaborative manner, just brainstorming and thinking of ideas and thinking about ways to make KCS fun for our team as well when we do like little training sessions and workshops.
And then John was asking about KDE work, and I think you kind of described Evolve Loop work with the Knowledge Council. Do you have dedicated knowledge domain experts, or how else does that Evolve Loop work get done?
I would say I'm a KDE, and then I actually have 2 of my business resource managers who have been through the second KCS certification. And I know one of them went through it with Jennifer Cripp, and I did as well. And so they work on content health, and we look at identifying things where we have some opportunities, to refresh. There's also reporting that we pull. The other thing that we leverage is we think about our ticketing, and we think about things that we're seeing that are common issues where we've had to write a knowledge article for workarounds. And we work closely with our product owners to say, hey, we're seeing a lot of instances of this. Perhaps this is an area where, we can focus on an enhancement that can eliminate the need for this workaround. So there's just a lot of different things that we do from that perspective.
I would say one of the things too, and has really been an evolution for all of the teams that I lead, because I lead all of our business process management teams as well, is understanding what we're seeing day to day. Where are there opportunities to refine or improve our process management? And so we have our daily triage teams working with our business process managers to kind of maybe close the gaps and make make things known either through process or through technology, through systems, and working with our product owners for the technology that we have. So that collaboration has really allowed us to improve both our systems and our processes. And so when you think about that picture of sustainability and kind of the strategic vision for where we want to go, that's, for us, KCS is foundational, because it's all of these actions that are contributing to that kind of increasing spiral, if you will, of success for the organization. I think the biggest thing too is how the knowledge that we've been able to capture has influenced decision-making within the organization. And so, we do have executives that'll ask us for, what are the feedback? What are you seeing? What does this mean? Or it's influenced how we go about structuring our project management here. So we have team members from our support teams engaged early on in projects, so that, and I know Janice had talked about how we've used capacity that previously was, triaging tickets to now being engaged in projects to kind of prime and plan for what we expect to have to support in the future. And we've got some fantastic success stories where we've had major rollouts with relatively little disruption because people had the information they needed. And that's truly at the heart of it. What we're looking for is like, let's meet people where they are, give them what they need, because all of us just really want to do a great job. And so I would say that the evolution part has been huge. I saw a question here about generative AI, and so really that's what's next for us. We're exploring that. We've been doing some testing with technology and with our team members, both in our technology team and organizationally. We've gotten fantastic feedback from external parties who we've been working with, who've complimented, and they're like, this is some of the best knowledge bases we've ever seen. How are you doing this? And it's KCS. It's just, it's just what we do. And it's not what we do, and it is just what we do. And it's really going to set us up well for what we're doing with generative AI. We've seen some really exciting things. I can't wait to get into more. We've been in, contract and AI discussions. It's an exciting topic here, but I can't wait to see what it looks like and what we're going to be able to provide to our team members once we're able to kind of get it in their hands. And so, in my mind, I envision some great things that we'll be able to offer from a support perspective. But that's the next step, and I feel really confident in our ability to be successful because of our KCS practices.
Would it be fair to say, as you're kind of describing your approach to the evolve loop, would it be fair to say that perhaps part of the reason you've been so successful with the solve loop is that it sounds like your organizational charter is to come up with process improvements? And so KCS kind of gave you the actual activities that enabled you to do that, because it helped you capture the data.
For sure.
Yes. Yeah, definitely that.
It just, my poor business heart got a little jealous thinking about the fact that it feels like your organization is just primed for, okay, here we are, we just need the data. And you were able to fulfill that demand by saying like, great, we're just going to implement the solve loop because the evolve loop is something we're trying to do anyway.
Yeah, we do have some standing meetings with stakeholders. Our analyst will pull ticket data in various areas, whether it's for our pricing team, for one of the teams associated with a loan origination system. And so we share ticket trends with them so that they can see what are the things that are happening, where might we need to focus our efforts. So it's funny that you should mention process improvement. We're actually part of the operational process excellence division.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much top of mind for us.
That's what a cool place to be, I think.
It's fun. Rebecca's been with the organization for a long time. I've been with the organization for 43 years. And this is probably and I've worked in a lot of different areas. This is probably some of the most fun that I've had.
Oh my gosh.
I get so excited about KCS and the possibilities with KCS and how we can help people find what they need and help them be more efficient.
I'm flipping through the questions. I'm seeing one about tips or tricks on how you manage your workflow and article states and those transitions.
Okay. So with our article,
Which, hang on, I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second because I think it's related to, did you have a growth path for knowledge contributors and how they move to a publisher role? I think
okay.
this could be.
So for our publishers in our internal knowledge base, if somebody has moved from the candidate role to the contributor role in our and through reviews of their articles that they've written, then they can publish in our internal knowledge base. For the knowledge base that we publish externally for people out, they're internal to our organization, but outside our team. For those, it's a higher level of review of articles and just making sure, we're just real sticklers as far as one of the things that we have in there is vetted by, because if somebody has a question, we vetted it with credit or sales or whoever we want to know who to go back to. So there's just key components there. So we do just like a real thorough review of all of that. I want to make sure that those are really as complete as possible. So we do have myself and Rebecca, and then some of our tier 2 that would be considered publishers for that area. And then we're looking to expand that, but it's just really reviewing and making sure that that we're comfortable that every single one of those that we're looking at that they're almost bulletproof. Nothing's going to be 100% bulletproof, but.
And we have had team members that have kind of started in the beginning of the journey as candidates, contributors, tier 1, have moved to tier 2, and so have kind of progressed through their own career, and then taken on different responsibilities throughout the roles that they've had.
Right. And then we've got 3 knowledge coaches now, and they're very seasoned employees, very experienced employees. And so we're bringing in new candidates for knowledge coaching into the fold, and we're not going to turn the apple cart upside down all at once and plug in 3 brand new ones. We'll bring them on in a staggered manner. But that gives that next group of coaches that additional experience, and so we'll continue to build on that experience so that we can have more people become publishers as well. So there was that question, and there was another question, and I have potentially lost that train of thought.
Well, I think the one question I think I see in the chat that we haven't addressed yet was about training in terms of the budget needs for training everyone at L1 and L2. Can you speak to how they were trained and what was the benchmark?
Yeah, so initially we had, for our whole team, and we've grown a little, over the years. And so initially when we first started doing training, was a special budget request. We had, I don't know, probably a dozen to 15 people initially. And then really we've continued to maintain training as people have been onboarded. And so, or if we had the most growth we've had in the team was probably in like the 2018, 2019, because like I said, we've had 10 since 2019. We haven't had we've had turnover, but we haven't had additional headcount. So it hasn't been a huge budget expense to have 1 or 2 every year go through training. I did have to get request special funding for the training that we did initially. And for me, it was as simple as putting together a business case, explain why we were doing this training, what we hope to accomplish with this tool, and gain buy-in from our leadership team, which we were able to do. So at that point in time, we worked with the technology team who was also working with, and obviously work with us today. They're also trained, and so they've gone through similar iterations as they've had turnover with their teams. So I would say it's an incremental part of our budget. It's not horribly expensive, especially if you're not, I could see like if you've got a massive team, then it may be expensive to try to get everyone trained in the same year. But for us, it's been a little bit all along the way. And I would say that would be something to think about with KCS. You don't have to get everything right out of the gate. It doesn't have to be perfect. But you have to begin, and then you'll learn, and you'll grow and expand and figure things out that work for you. And yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yes, this is sufficient to get started. Yes. Yeah. And just as a matter of fun, because sometimes we'll get asked the questions like, well, was your team very receptive to this? It seems like something extra to do and all that. The team, given where they were and wanting to be really good and answer questions quickly, they were pretty receptive overall. And it's just helping them understand that it is really part of their job, and it's really not extra work. Because if you think about the time it takes to solve something over and over and over and over and over again, why don't you invest that in solving it once? And you could spend your time like answering the questions and doing that more quickly. But I will say the one thing that we did when we kind of rolled it out was we had fun with it.
Yeah.
We did. We had when we transitioned to ServiceNow, that's really when it began in earnest, and we had something that supported our process really well. And we did like the 12 days of ServiceNow. And the first thing that we gave them, it was during 2020 of all times. They had little paper bags for the first 12 days, and they would open something like each day. And the first day we gave them something that's called a screaming goat. So it's like sometimes when you try something new, you feel like you want to scream. You don't have to scream, just use your little screaming goat. So it's a little goat, you press on it and it screams. So that's been 5 years, and people still have their screaming goats at their desk.
Yeah, I would encourage you to make sure you have a change management plan and make it fun. Engage the team. They can come up with great ideas to make it fun as well, because change is hard, even if it's positive change. And so the screaming goats, we had candy, and we had
little pom-poms to
things.
cheer each other on. Yeah, just fun stuff.
Kind of fun.
Yeah.
Have you had interest from other parts of the business in terms of this KCS thing? And are you going to have to go teach other people how to do KCS now?
I'd say yes and yes. Yeah. One of the things that really highlighted our success with KCS and with all the things that we've done, Rebecca mentioned it, but we had a rather large rollout. It was in the summer of last year. 23. Oh gosh. Yeah, time flies. The summer of 23. And there was something new that was rolling out to, if you remember, our organization's about 1,600 people, a little over 1,600 people. This was rolling out to about 900 people. And this was something that we were fortunate to get our analysts engaged in that project so they could hear the questions during your UAT, prime the knowledge base with the knowledge that would be needed to support the tool. 900 users, day one, go live. I had somebody that had been on the team through multiple rollouts of things over the years. And she said, I came in, I had my snacks, I had my drinks, the right kind of drinks. I had my drinks, and I was prepared to be chained to my desk. But it was a non-event. We only had 60 calls day one.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Because during the course of the project, we also took the opportunity to train and work with our organizational development team to train people to go to our center, which is our employee portal, to find answers.
Yeah.
So that was just a fantastic opportunity. So kind of the success with that and the visibility with that has caused other teams within the organization to approach us about learning more about KCS.
Yeah.
Amazing. Again, just thinking about using that sort of additional analyst capacity to do actual demand-driven work, right? I think sometimes we think about like, well, do I make stuff up? How does this work? Am I trying to predict what's going to happen? But that user acceptance testing is just a perfect place to harvest questions that get asked by real people and then capture some real answers. And then again, it's sufficient to get started. And what a great story about 60 calls and 900 brand new users. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are coming up to the top of the hour. Do we have, oh, Terry's asking, can he see the external knowledge base? I think the answer is no, because it's for your internal users, right? It's your internal customers who see that.
That's our next frontier.
Is that right?
Yeah, working with our communications and brand experience team to work with our external website as well. But right now, everything that we manage is internal.
Great. Any other questions here as we wrap up, or final thoughts that come to mind from Janice or Rebecca in terms of advice?
Gosh, the main thing is as you embark on the journey, just listen to your team. They've got great ideas. And like I said, I'm open to anything as long as it doesn't violate KCS principles. But two, getting end user feedback is really, really important to make sure that we're hitting the target with what we're delivering to them. So we didn't even talk about it, but we have a whole experience team that we've stood up to talk about, okay, we know what they're seeing in the employee portal. How can we make that even better?
Yeah.
So it's just really having that continuous improvement mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you all for having us today. We appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about what we've been doing. As you can tell, I think we're pretty passionate about it and love what we get a chance to do.
It's been so wonderful to have you. Thank you so much. Terry's kind of reflecting like how you emphasized the human connection and starting from there. It seemed an undercurrent to the presentation today. It sure does. And in summary, right, talk to the people who are involved. Isn't that a good starting place? So thanks so much for your time. Thanks so much for everyone who joined us today. If you want to continue this conversation with Janice, she's going to be at the annual summit in Atlanta. So come and join us there. And we'll see you at another call here soon, I hope. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.